Hello everybody, Jake here and welcome back to the hobby. We're back with another episode of what's hot and what's not, and for the first time in a while we're talking about what's hot first because it's actually a little bit harder to find cards that are hot right now, and it's very easy to find cards that are not hot because the market is very red right now. Most Pokemon cards, especially any that have been pumping for the past couple of months, have been climbing really hard in prices, and now they're finally seeing a serious correction where prices are in the red, where they're moving down, but they're still more expensive than where they used to be. But one card that is absolutely very hot right now is the first edition Fossil Kabuto. Thanks to memes, pump and dumps, whatever you want to call it, this card is really hot right now. Some people are calling it market manipulation. I would say it's absolutely a sprinkling of a little bit of everything. It is a very popular card now for the memes or whatever the case. Some people do want to have this card inside of their collection. And if you want to collect this card because someone else has 500 copies of this card and you think it's funny, then that is actually a completely fair reason to pick up this card. However, I would disagree with picking it up at $40 plus, especially when you knew that it was going for just a couple of dollars just a couple of weeks ago. So it's going up very quickly, and any card that goes up this quickly is probably going to go down just as quick. So just be aware of that. Same with the graded first edition versions. They're still climbing very rapidly. Less so because people just want a raw copy of this card for the memes, and you just want to ride the community lore of the Kabuto King. Go ahead and do it. You know, it's $30. It's no harm to anyone. But if you don't want to pick it up because $30 is way more expensive than where it was a couple weeks ago, that's completely fair too. I can tell you right now, I do not have a copy of this card inside of my collection. An unlimited version? Yes, I have an unlimited version. A first edition version? Actually, you know what? I might have a first edition version somewhere inside my closet, somewhere. Maybe inside of a binder I haven't touched in 2 or 3 years. But regardless whether I have it or not, I'm just following the story. I don't care enough about this to pick it up anywhere near its current market price, but it's absolutely something funny to keep track of. Before we dive into the rest of the cards in today's video, I'd like to thank Collector for sponsoring today's video. If you haven't checked them out already, I highly recommend you sign up to Collector because it's a completely free platform that allows you to track your whole entire Pokemon card collection. So if you want to see where the prices from today's video are coming from, if you want to keep track of the whole entire market, if you want to put your whole entire collection on an easy to track app, I highly recommend you check out Collector today. It's super easy to track all of your cards on Collector, as well as just see where the market is currently moving. And the great thing about Collector is actually you can see other people's showcases. So if you want to see my whole entire Pokemon card collection on the Collector app, you can actually see a bunch of other big content creators are also on Collector, but you can actually see my whole entire Pokemon card collection, every single card inside of it, as well as just how well my collection is currently doing. And surprisingly, whereas many collections are currently in the red, mine is actually doing kind of solid right now. My impression is that it might be due to the hype in One Piece, where I do have a little bit of my portfolio. But yeah, my collection hasn't really seen much of a dip. There was a little bit of a dip around the early November portion, but now I'm pretty much back to where it was. Although I do have to update my collection because I'm sure I've moved some cards around over the past couple of months. That's the one thing. I have to keep my collection up to date on Collector, where I actually have to make sure that every card inside of my showcase is actually completely accurate, because there are some cards that I probably have sold over the past couple months, and there's cards that I've added to. So this number just needs to be updated a little bit. But yeah, if you want to see every single card inside of my collection, that's actually fully available on the Collector app. Highly recommend them. Check them out today. The next card up on our hot or not list, we got ourselves the Latios and Latios Tag Team GX. And as you can see, it is a very consistent climber, whereas a lot of other cards in recent memory are dipping maybe a little bit here or there. This card is not seeing any dip at all. And a big portion of that is that a lot of these copies are sitting in forever collections. You do not see a lot of copies of this card floating around out there. If you go to a card show, you might find one, maybe 2 copies of it here or there. In a very big convention, you might see more than that, but it is a rare card. It's hard to find, and so there is not a lot of movement on it. Even if the market is currently dropping, this is not a card that is going to really drop. I have 2 copies of this card in my collection right now, and it's sitting there forever, regardless whether the market goes up or down. I have 2 copies of this. My wife has one and I have one, and we do not plan on ever selling our copies. So this is one of those cards where regardless whether the market is going up or down, because so many copies of it are sitting in forever collection, that's the reason why it's not dropping. And to give you another example of that, we got ourselves the base set unlimited Charizard, and I would actually consider this card a hot card. Certainly not a flaming hot card like a flaming hot Cheetos. I guess it's not fiery hot, but it's always a slow simmer. As you can see, regardless of how well the market is currently doing, this card is uber blue chip, and what that means is you're not going to see this card ever tank in price. There are thousands of copies of base set unlimited Charizards out there, tens of thousands. But why is it not going up or down? Because so many copies are sitting inside of people's binders for 10, 20 years, sitting in someone's closet for 10, 20 years. There are so many copies of this Charizard taken off the market. Even if someone were to sell 100 copies, that's nothing. That's a tiny number in the whole entire Charizard market, and that's why it's so blue chip. The price on this card is super stagnant. You cannot pump it, you cannot dump it. It is so consistent. So that's why a lot of times when people ask me where's a good starting point for Pokemon card collecting, one of the recommendations I like to make is just start collecting the base set unlimited section. Just one of every single of the original base set cards. It gives you a really strong, fulfilling feeling once you fill out your whole entire base set unlimited collection, and you just collected the very first set of Pokemon cards that ever came out. It's a very fulfilling journey. It's very satisfying, and it's a lot of fun to collect base set unlimited. And a great portion of that is that it teaches you a lot about Pokemon card collecting, and at the same time, you're not at risk of your base set unlimited collection ever dipping in value. It might dip here or there 5-10%, but in general, it is super blue chip and just a very solid collection long term. There's no world where your base set unlimited Charizard is ever going to go to zero. It's just not even possible. Another sealed product that I'd like to recommend that is more modern is Evolving Skies, and this includes the Evolving Skies Elite Trainer box, as well as the Evolving Skies booster box, although those are significantly more expensive. But loose packs of Evolving Skies is the most affordable option, and they are a consistent climber as well. There are people out there that like to avoid loose booster packs just because they say, you know, they could potentially be tampered with, and that's going to be up to you whether you can buy from a trusted source or not. I have a lot of Evolving Skies packs inside of my collection, and I just know regardless of where the market goes, this is one of those items that is going to be a consistent climber long term. And I'm just going to let you know I have a large plastic bin full of Evolving Skies booster pack, and that is for my kids' literal education or career or whatever they want to do in 20 years, because I just think that's the easiest, safest investment for them. And that's surprising. You know, there's stocks, there's a real estate, there's all kinds of other stuff that would be investable. But why did I pick Evolving Skies booster packs? It's just because as someone who's been in the hobby long term, and I'm fully aware of all those other options, it's not like I don't own any real estate. Obviously, we have our own property here. Obviously, I have a 401k. Obviously, I have stocks. But for me, just knowing the most consistent climber and being educated, it's crazy to say this, but I think Evolving Skies is it. I bought a bunch of this 4 or 5 years ago, and it is my best long-term collectible in a really nice sealed product. So Evolving Skies has outbeat everything, and so that's what I feel confident the most in holding for my children in the future, which is crazy to say, but that's what I currently see. So that's what we currently have is a lot of Evolving Skies packs, and just looking at this past year, it's been a strong, consistent winner just because where are you going to get Evolving Skies packs? At Walmart? It's just not happening. So another card that I really want to talk about, and this one is really surprising. And normally when people expect me to talk about a hot card, they expect me to talk about cards like the Kabuto, where it's just climbing really fast. And that doesn't have to be the case. You know, things like the base set unlimited Charizard, it's not climbing, but I would still say this is a hot card. This is a card that you can sell at any card show. It's super liquid. Everyone knows what it is. Everyone knows the price on it. It's really straightforward. But the interesting thing about this Perrin card is that it is just a consistent, solid card as well. It's been staying at $100 for pretty much the whole entire past year, which is absolutely wild. Now, this Perrin does have a second card, which is the Growlithe card that goes along with it. But it's so rare for a full art trainer special illustration rare card to get this level of treatment where it's really desirable long term, which is crazy to me. So be aware of it. It's just interesting to see an SIR of a trainer be this consistently valued across the whole entire hobby, especially because, this is a kind of a generic SIR. Obviously, you have to get the Growlithe that goes along with this card to get the full art feel for it, but it's not that special. This is not that special of a card by itself, but the community clearly values it, and that is very nice to see that this is just one of those cards that is consistently strong in value, because $100 for a full art trainer card is nothing to scoff at, especially when many trainer SIRs are actually below $10. Many of them are even below $5. Going a little bit more vintage, a card that I really want to talk about is this Full Art Gengar EX. This was a card that I've said was good and is good for like the past 5-10 years, and it is super, super cool. It is just a chunky boy. It is just, oh, here he's come. Oh, Lord, he's coming. This Gengar EX is coming, and it is a chunky boy. So take that how you will, but it is a consistent climber. And this is what I want people to know about cards that are hot, is that they are long-term holds. These are not cards that can easily be manipulated. This card is over 10 years old, and people think, oh, it's too late to collect older cards. That's not the case. In fact, many of the modern cards, if you want to collect them, you can, but they're the most risky cards. This card is so old. If you collected this card at the start of this year, you would have said, oh, Jake, why am I collecting a 10-year-old card that is going for $200? It's too late to collect this card. There's just no value in it. I mean, it's already reached its full peak value. There's nothing that I can get out of value from this. It's just a $200 card. This is an insane collectible last year. You can't expect me to spend $200 on this card. Well, guess what? This $200 card is now going for $750 to $800, and that is how strong it is. In fact, if you look at the PSA 10 portion, oh my God, it's disgusting. You're telling me this PSA 10 is currently going for $12,000, and the reason why it's spiking so inconsistently is because there's so few copies of this PSA 10 card. It is such a tiny market because no one graded it, that it's valued at over $10,000. That's the insane thing, right? So don't feel like you have to collect cards that came out in the last 2 years to get in on the ground floor. The ground floor, to me, is a myth. It's a myth. You can collect cards no matter how old right now, and there's still value in them. So don't feel like just because a card is really old or it's going for $200 that it's peaked in price and there's nothing else of value in it. In fact, the lower value cards are where the risk is really at. Another card that I think is a really consistent winner is the Birthday Pikachu. This one is just really desirable, and I have a large stack of it, and I bought my large stack at around $5 a copy. And the reason I bought a ton of copies of this is so that I can give it out. In fact, I sent a couple of copies of it in November to people's birthdays because some friends had birthdays, and I sent out a couple copies of this card, and I'm really glad I bought a bunch of copies of this at $5. I knew that this card was going to go up in value because people are just going to need copies of it. That seems like a no-brainer because it's Birthday Pikachu. Are you going to give away the 25-year-old version of this card? No, you're probably going to give away the modern card, and it's really cool as well. At $5, that's the same price as a Celebrations booster pack, and I'd rather get this out of my Celebrations pack than just rip open a loose Celebrations pack. So I do have a large stack of this, but that's not because it's an investment. That's not because I'm waiting for it to go up in value. I bought a copy of this or a stack of these just to give away eventually. And I knew I had to buy it then because it was way cheaper then than it is now. Because if I were to try to buy a bunch of copies of this now, I'd be spending thousands of dollars picking them up at $25 to $30. The PSA 10s have gone down in value, but everything that's PSA 10 has gone down in value over the past couple of weeks and months between October and November. So not a huge surprise. Another card, really consistent climber, the Umbreon and Darkrai Tag Team GX. Old Tag Team GX cards are still really strong long-term and very, very desirable. The PSA 10s have taken a massive dip though. Just be aware of that. Raw copies, very desirable. They're still strong, consistent climbers, but graded copies are just a mess. One final card I definitely want to talk about is the Special Delivery Charizard. Again, another really consistent climber. Used to go for right around $25 to $30. I remember this card going for as low as 20 last year, and now it's going for 150. Really strong, consistent climber. You know, many Charizard cards saw a dip, but this one did not, because it's not on the same meme level as some of the other Charizard card. Everyone has their eyeballs on Charizard special illustration rares from Obsidian Flames, Brilliant Stars, and a bunch of other sets. But this Charizard is really flying under the radar as just a really strong, consistent climber. And I see this trend continuing because it is a cool card. It's the special delivery Charizard. It's got Pikachu riding on its back. It's just a cool, iconic card. Moving on to the what's not hot category, we have a bunch of stuff to actually talk about. It was actually really easy to pick cards that were not hot, and I actually had a choice of what cards are not hot enough to talk about. And some stuff that we have to talk about that is less hot is things like the Phantasmal Flames Pokemon Center ETB, a really desirable ETB, and this is not cheap. It's still going for way, way over market, but why is it seeing this massive dip? It's because there's still a lot of these out there. It's still a new product, and there will probably be a restock of Phantasmal Flames Pokemon Center ETB at some point in the next couple of months. It might never happen, but I think it's a massive risk to hold on to this right now. And you can see a lot of stuff that's dipping the most is some of the more modern stuff. So I'm not surprised that this card, this is seeing a dip, because anyone who bought this probably bought it from the Pokemon Center directly. And if they don't want to hold it sealed, this is an easy item to just sell right now. It will probably climb eventually, but right now it's absolutely a buyer's market for these as they start to dip. So just be aware of that. I mean, at $180, it's still 3 times over market. So does that really mean it's not hot? Debatable. Another item that's seeing a lot of dip includes the Mega Charizard XEX UPC. Really cool box, but obviously a lot of people have still remember the last time they released a Charizard UPC, and those dipped in price quite a bit. And I still think this has quite a drop for it to go. It could still drop by quite a bit. And a big reason for that is just because a lot of card shop, GameStop, as well as Costco and Sam's Club are probably going to see large restocks of these UPCs in the next couple of months. If you're getting one now, you're getting one for the holiday, for your significant other, for your kid, for someone under the Christmas tree. Or you could be buying it to splurge for yourself, which is a fine option as well. But unless you're buying this as a splurge for yourself, being patient is actually the right call, which is why these are dipping, is because everyone that wants one now has a copy. And the only people that want it now are the people that are only willing to pay market for it. And so that's where the price is going to dip, is that without the demand for these, there is a ton of supply of these out there. And the interesting thing is that right now, the secondary market is actually cheaper than what you can pay GameStop for these. GameStop is currently charging $200 for this Mega Charizard UPC. And if you go to a card show, if you go to even scalper prices on Facebook Marketplace, they're going for under $200. So shame on GameStop for charging over market on a product like this. Something that's really interesting is the Team Rocket's Moltres EX UPC is actually more expensive right now than the Mega Charizard one. The Mega Charizard one is currently going for $175, and the Team Rocket Moltres one, which is, I would say, less value, is currently going for $208. And a big portion of that is that these are actually harder to come by. The Team Rocket's Moltres stamp card inside is pretty cool. It is a reprint, but it is about as desirable in terms of price as the Mega Charizard UPC. It's still a really cool SIR with the stamp on it. It's a nice card, and it's going for $205 just because these are just less out there. There's less of these out there, and people want this just as much as the Mega Charizard UPC. They're both pretty solid product. This is one, though, I would pass on, especially if it's more expensive than the Mega Charizard UPC. As we keep on going, there we go. We got ourselves the Team Rocket Moltres EX with the Destined Rival stamp. It was going for as much as $150 before release, which is still a lot of value for a card that is just a regular promo card inside of UPC. I have it on the list, but because it's dipping, but $60 is still really, really expensive for a free promo card inside of a UPC after you purchase it. Another card that I have, do you consider this a hot card or a not hot card? I would consider this a not card. It's half hot, half not, because certainly if we're talking about just the past 2 or 3 months, which is what the focus of this video is, this is a card that is dipping right now, as it very, very well should be, because it saw just a massive climb up, going for as much as $700 raw, and now it's going for $500. So it's seeing a really significant dip. But these are Investor Bro cards. The Mew EX, the Bubble Mew, is about Investor Bro card as you can possibly get. So I'm not surprised by how expensive it's dipping by. Another card, and this one is another not card. It's half hot, half not, because the raw copies of it are really, really consistently climbing. This is a consistent climber in terms of price. You can see right now raw copies of it are still going for $650, while the graded copies of it are tanking through the ground. That's a pretty massive tank. This card, I remember the peak price of it was going for around $2,500. Collector is an average price, so it's never going to show you the absolute peak of the market, the absolute peak of the market. And this card at its absolute peak was actually going for closer to $2,500. And right now it's currently going for $1,300, which is a very, very significant dip. But that's the PSA 10 copies. The raw copies are still climbing. And I know the reason why. It's because it's actually harder to find a raw copy of the Great Felt Hat Pikachu than a graded copy. Pretty much everyone and their mom who has a copy of this card just sent it off for grading because it was like free value. If you got a PSA 9, you still made value. If you got a PSA 10, you made a ton of value. So if you have a raw copy of this card, you might as well send it in for grading. And because so many people send it in for grading, the population report on this card is insane. There's just so many copies of it out there that are graded that it flooded the graded market. So a very interesting card, and you don't see this very often, where the raw card prices are climbing rapidly, but the graded card market is tanking really hard. But just goes to showcase, this card is oversaturated when it comes to the graded market. There's just too many graded copies of these. And there are people out there that don't care if a card is graded. They just want a raw copy. And those are the ones that are picking up this card because it's still cool. It's still iconic. It's the Great Felt Hat Van Gogh Pikachu. Of course it's iconic. But if you don't want a graded copy for $2,500 and you just want a copy of this card to frame up in your room or something like that, or keep inside of your binder, the raw copy has got to be the way to go. Another card that is absolutely a not hot card is the Chinese Umbreon, and I think this is a super cool card. The issue with it is that it's Chinese, and because of the language barrier, a lot of people are just simply turned off by it. This is just recognizable when a card is in another language, especially one that is not as desirable as Chinese, because a lot of people are actually okay with Japanese card, especially Japanese exclusive cards. They're willing to pick it up. But there is still a little bit of stigma around collecting Chinese card because of Chinese fakes and all kinds of different reasons, whatever that reason may be, political or not. People just aren't willing to collect Chinese card, and the market is speaking on that, is that on release, anyone that thinks this card is cool is picking up copies. But now that the market of anyone who cares about this card has bought a copy of it, anyone else that doesn't want a copy of it just because it's language barrier or just because it's obscure or they just want to collect English card, whatever the case, they're not picking it up. So the market on this card is absolutely tanking. It's crazy that this card was going for as much as $1,500 to $1,600 in a PSA 10. And now it's going for $300. That's one of the biggest tank I've seen in a card in a very long time. That is a massive drop. Another card that has seen pretty solid drop includes the Tag Team GX, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. This card, really cool. I do think it's going to go back up in value. This is just fantastic art right here. This could be an alt art, and people would be happy with it. This was back in the day when regular ultra rares could be as cool, if not cooler, than their alternate art standpoint. Obviously, the alt art version of this card is the Stained Glass Bird Trio. Still really desirable, but this card I think is the really cool one, just because it looks great. Even as a regular ultra rare, like this looks fantastic. This is a full alt art card if you really think about it. The graded market has seen a bit of a tank, but a very cool card nonetheless. Another card that has seen the massivest dip ever. I'm pretty sure I put this on a different not video in the past, but I just want to reiterate again how crazy the pump up market can be. So just be aware that this could also happen to the Kabuto card that we talked about earlier. The Marshadow went for as much as $80 and is now going for $18. That is a pretty massive yikes. Same with the PSA 10, going for as much as $500, all the way down to below $200 again. Really, really massive dip. The lore behind this card is just not quite there. It's not bad. I actually think it's very, very solid. This should be around a $20 card. So yeah, very, very solid around that price. Final one, I want to talk about the Master Ball market, because this Umbreon Master Ball represents the whole entire Master Ball market, especially for Prismatic Evolution, is that people do not care about Master Balls. People simply do not care about the regular Holo Rare just having a Master Ball stamp. The Master Ball stamp is not desirable, at least right now in the current market, is that Master Balls, if you ask me in terms of hot or not, I would say these are a hard not hot. This is the most desirable of all of the Master Balls, and it's currently going for $60. That is nothing when you think about how many Prismatic Evolutions packs you have to rip open to get one copies of it. This is not hot. Most of the other Master Balls are going for well below $5, so they are really, really not desirable. So yeah, just speaking on the state of the current Master Ball market. So be aware of those. It'll be interesting to see how they do these going forward. But right now, people just aren't jiving with these. So let me know what your thoughts are. These have been the hot or not cards at the current market. It's absolutely kind of an interesting time when a lot of stuff is starting to dip in value, but there's still stuff that is constantly climbing. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you guys next time.